All right, everyone, this is a time to analyze different ERP vendors. So let's dive right in.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our number one priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Gupta. I am principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent vendor-agnostic technology advisory firm. We help our clients with digital transformation strategy, technology selection, and change management. On that note, let's go back to today's topic, which is the top ERP vendors in 2026. Before we look at the list, let's align our expectations in terms of what we mean when we say ERP vendors. These are different companies and not necessarily systems. So this distinction is very important to understand. Sometimes people confuse that with whether we are talking about vendors or systems. In this particular case, these are vendors. Each of these vendors may have many products as part of their portfolio. They might target different size segments or industry segments. So again, we are talking about the overarching strategy as well as positioning of these vendors. These are not specific products or the systems that we are talking about. We look at all the different factors, whether it is going to be macro factors or micro factors. Macro factors are going to be in terms of their R&D investment, in terms of how they are approaching their acquisition strategy, etc. So we are looking at everything. And then obviously we are going to look at micro forces, which are going to be your features and functions and capabilities of specific products in their portfolio. But again, we are tying this all up and producing the rankings of different vendors where they stand. For your selection, you need to care for both. Not only you need to care for the product capabilities, but you also need to pay attention to how the vendor is doing overall from their market share perspective, where their R&D focus is, because they may have several different products. One product may be successful, the other product may not be as successful. So if you are going for the product that is successful, it's going to be a great strategy, but not for the other products that might not receive the same attention. So you need to keep that in mind, and that's where this list can help. The criteria that we have used to compile this list is market share, any sort of valuation, as well as the product and acquisition strategy. We factored that into this analysis, and depth of cloud native plus AI native is going to be a new theme. So we have factored that into this analysis. And then finally, the adoption implementation. That's a big topic for us overall when you look at these rankings, roadmap, product mix, company ownership. So these are some of the factors that we have utilized to compile this list. So now let's look at the list. Number 10 on our list is Acumatica. And if you're not familiar with Acumatica is in that smaller segment in terms of revenue. Their target market is going to be somewhere from your $10 million to roughly $100 million. That's where majority of their logos will be. They might have some larger customers, smaller customers, but for the most part, that is probably going to be their sweet spot. They are still very concentrated in some countries, very focused on North American-centric market. There might be some other countries that they may have developed, but overall, from the product design perspective, their product is still very limited to certain countries. They have created some partnerships, or they have OEM arrangements in other countries, for example, Australia. But for the most part, their focus is very North American focused. Now, some of the unique aspects of their strategy, as well as how they operate. Some themes that you are going to hear is consumption-based pricing. Now, consumption-based pricing could be a great advantage in certain industries, depending upon which industry you are in, but that is not always the advantage. So make sure you are doing your TCO ROI analysis in terms of what you are going to get based on consumption-based pricing. But in certain industries, that could be a huge benefit, especially in seasonal industries. The way they approach their product design is also very unique. They are going to have several different versions or the additions they call, and these additions are going to have deep industry functionality. So when you are going to sit at the intersection of different industries, for example, you are looking at construction plus manufacturing plus field service plus retail. Sometimes when you look at the other vendors, they have a distinct product for each of these verticals, and it's very hard for them to communicate across these databases. So those products may not work for this strategy, and that's where Acumatica is going to be a great fit. Now, when you look at their portfolio, if you look at their AI native strategy, they have done something, but it's not as exciting as some of the other vendors that we have on this list. But Acumatica is still a great vendor to include as part of your ERP selection, and they are number 10 on our list. Now, number 9 on our list is Deltek. And Deltek, they still have very large market share, especially when you look at some of the government consulting space. Construction, A&E is another vertical for them, which is the architecture and engineering vertical. So they have substantial market share, predominantly in the service space. You are going to find them. Now, the problem with Deltek is, and Deltek has multiple products. It's not just one product that they have as part of their portfolio, but they have very similar challenge as some of the other vendors that are struggling with cloud migration. Overall, when you look at Deltek's position, they were owned by very large private equity, but that private equity sold them, and now they are with much smaller private equity. So overall, they don't have as much R&D spend. They don't have as much momentum that you are going to find in some other portfolios. But for the most part, if you are going to be in GovCon space, maybe you do a lot of consulting in the government space, then Deltek could still be a great vendor. And that's number 9. Number 8 on our list is Sage. And Sage is primarily an accounting vendor. They have great relationship with a lot of different accounting companies, accounting firms, and those are the ones that are going to represent Sage. That is their primary distribution channel. They have had several products in their portfolio. Traditionally, Sage 150, 200, 300, 500. That's how they had designed their tiers. And each of those products were designed for the specific size of the companies, where these numbers meant that those many number of employees, the product could scale up to that point. Now, some of those products still have some life cycle, but some of them are going end of life. So you need to be really careful when you explore those products. Their go-to products right now are Sage Intacct and Sage X3. They both have substantial momentum overall. But when you look at the Sage Intacct product, overall, operationally, it's very limited. Financially, it's very deep. It has localization for a lot of different countries. For the most part, Sage Intacct does well in the service space. For example, let's say if you are going to be software as a service, not for profit, in those spaces, Sage Intacct does really well. Sage X3 is a very unique platform as well. They do really well in the process manufacturing, food and beverage, pharma, medical device. In those spaces, you are going to find a well-developed ecosystem. The product is targeted for upper mid-market compared to your Sage Intacct, which is targeted for small to mid-size companies. Sage X3 is a much bigger product overall from the capabilities perspective, the kind of capabilities that are packaged as part of Sage X3 data model as well as process model. Sage has done several different acquisitions, but the majority of them have been to augment their capabilities from the accounting firm perspective. They have done some from the carbon accounting, and then they have also done some more from the HCM perspective. They have consolidated some SNOP capabilities that they have acquired. So those are some of the updates. But overall, when you look at their AI native roadmap, they have not been as aggressive as some of the other vendors, but they still have huge market share. And if you're going to be in those industries, then Sage X3 and Sage Intacct are going to be the products that you should be including as part of your evaluation. So that's number 8. Number 7 on our list is QAD. And QAD is very unique, and they are probably one of the most exciting vendor as well as the company for 2026. And the reason for that is, even though QAD may be slightly behind overall with their cloud upgrade, but the new leadership is really exciting. The speed at which they are moving, they have made substantial changes that a lot of ERP vendors are struggling to match. So they have done some very exciting acquisitions in the recent past, especially moving to the AI native space, especially when you talk about acquisitions such as your Red Zone or Kabida AI. I think those are some of the ones, and they are acquiring left and right, which is very exciting overall for a product or company that had substantial legacy install base. They were on Progress technology. They have done complete rewrite of their platform. That platform may not have as many installs as of today, but overall their AI native strategy is very compelling at this point of time. And you should definitely be looking at QAD if you are doing the ERP selection, and they are probably one of the most exciting vendor for 2026, and that's number 7. Number 6 on our list is IFS. And IFS is also another exciting vendor, just like QAD. The things that they are doing from the AI native perspective, they have done substantial acquisitions, and because of that, they are also very exciting overall. Now, IFS is also in that $1 billion ARR club, but a large majority of their installation are going to be for the best of breed for their field service as well as for their EAM solution. So sometimes it's very hard to attribute what is their core market share for the ERP install base, but they definitely have that momentum from the field service as well as from the EAM perspective. And their AI native strategy is probably one of the best. They had done substantial rewriting for their core platform. So that is definitely a vendor to watch in 2026. And they are number 6. Number 5 on our list is Appicore. And Appicore has several different products in their portfolio. Some of them are targeted for upper mid-market, some for smaller verticals. They have Kinetic, they have Profit 21. Kinetic is their manufacturing product, and then P21 is their distribution product. They have Eclipse, which is going to be slightly more distribution centric, but for specific industries. So they have many products that are really successful, and they still retain the market share in those specific micro verticals. They have done substantial announcement overall from their AI native capabilities perspective, but their acquisition strategy is not necessarily aligned as you would want from the AI native perspective. For example, QAD and IFS, they have done substantial acquisitions in the AI native space. What Appicore has done is they have acquired companies to fill the product gaps and to get caught up with some of the other vendors that they compete with. That is a great strategy. Overall, when you look at from the deal flow perspective, where these vendors are winning, obviously Appicore needs to have their complete portfolio. Otherwise, they'll not be able to win in those spaces. But at the same time, at this point of time, given the state of 2026, the majority of the vendors have substantial threat from the AI native vendors. So that's where we would like to see a little bit more AI native exposure from the Appicore's perspective. But right now, they are still very well positioned, and that's why they are number 5 on our list. Number 4 on our list is Infor. And Infor also has many different products in their portfolio. They had bundled them as part of their cloud suites, and now they call Velocity suites. Each of those suites are constructed using many different products, and obviously ERP is going to be one of the product. They still have all of those workloads. For example, LN was one of the ERP, M3 was another ERP, and each of the cloud suites that are going to be purpose built for each of the industries or micro industries use one of those ERP products. So you need to pay close attention to their product construction as well as bundling strategy when you look at these products, how they are constructed. But overall, Infor has invested a lot in innovating their UI, UX, and now they are also investing substantially in the AI native capabilities. But for the most part, if you look at their AI native roadmap, it's not as exciting as some of the other vendors, but they still retain the market share substantially overall in the upper mid-market space, especially because of their products, LN and M3. And then for the smaller verticals, they have CSI and CSD as well. So that's number 4. Number 3 on our list is Microsoft. And Microsoft has invested substantially in their 2 products, which is your financial operations, and the new name for that is finance and supply chain. And there is another version of the same product, which is the project operations for service-centric industries. And then they have the mid-market product, Business Central. And then they construct their suite based on many different best-of-breed capabilities that they have. They have CRM, field service. Their best-of-breed capabilities might not be as complete because Microsoft is still a very generic vendor, the way they approach the market, but their ecosystem is going to fill all of those gaps. They have substantial ecosystem built by a lot of different vendors, so you're going to find many different options, but as part of the core, you might not find as deep capabilities as you would find with some of the prescriptive vendors such as your Infor, Epicor, IFS, etc. Overall, Microsoft is exciting because the amount of R&D that they are pushing with their products, it's very hard to match that for some of these prescriptive vendors. So that's where Microsoft is really exciting with their FNO as well as BC products. So that's number 3. Number 2 on our list is Oracle. And Oracle has 2 products as well, one for the enterprise segment, one for mid-market. Both of them are doing really well. Now, they are not as exciting overall from their AI native capabilities. They have not done acquisitions they are trying to develop, but the capabilities are not as exciting as some of the other vendors, the speed at which they are moving. Overall, in the NetSuite's portfolio, they have done some announcement. They have launched new capabilities for field service, and they had done some CPQ related enhancements as well. But for the most part, they are doing really well. They still retain the market share from the NetSuite perspective, as well as Oracle Fusion. That is doing really well as well. So that's number 2. Number 1 on our list is SAP. And SAP is still the market leader from the ERP footprint perspective. They have several best-of-breed products as part of their portfolio. So if you are looking to get the entire enterprise architecture as part of one vendor, SAP can match that. Obviously, you are going to have that as part of Oracle's portfolio, Microsoft's portfolio as well. And that's where SAP really shines. Some of the recent developments that SAP has done, they have signed very similar partnerships as Salesforce used to have. So now they are aligning with vendors such as your Databricks and Snowflake. Traditionally, what SAP used to do is they used to push their own data warehouse, data lake products, but now they are aligning with these vendors that are doing really well in the data space. So that is the exciting development. SAP has also announced some of the AI native capabilities, but again, they are not as aggressive as some of the other vendors that we have on this list. So that's number 1. Now, we have several other vendors. They were not part of the top 10, but that does not mean that they are not going to be fit for your industry as well as size segment. Rankings have some relevance overall from the market share perspective, but you need to assess your own needs and you need to look at each of the vendors, which vendors are going to be right fit for your requirements. So these vendors could be equally relevant for your needs. So we are going to talk about several other vendors that could not make to the top 10 list just because of their lower market share, lower penetration in these segments. But market penetration is just one variable that you should be looking at for your ERP selection. Number 11 on our list is Unit 4. Unit 4 does really well in that upper mid-market, education, public sector, consulting-centric verticals. The way their suite is constructed, it's very similar to your Workday, etc. They just have one product as part of their portfolio. Overall, from their momentum perspective, they had very little momentum. And that is the reason why they are not part of the top 10 list. That is not to say that for certain industries where they do really well, they could still be a very promising vendor. So that's number 11. The number 12 on our list is Odoo. And Odoo is again phenomenal vendor overall in that smaller segment, smaller segment, especially for the companies that are outgrowing QuickBooks and they are looking for simpler process model, data model, and that is going to provide easier implementation, etc. Odoo could be a great fit. It's open source, so some companies care for that, so that could be a great positive as well for Odoo. Overall, they keep getting funding, and obviously their investors would want them to develop the AI native capabilities. At this point of time, we have not seen as major announcements from their AI native capabilities perspective as what we have seen with some of the other AI native vendors and other ERP vendors. But Odoo is a great product and a great vendor. So that's number 12. Number 13 on our list is DalmiaWorks IQMS. And DalmiaWorks IQMS is a great vendor as well. They target mid-market, upper mid-market, engineering, plastic-centric verticals. The problem with DalmiaWorks at this point of time, again, they have not had as much momentum from their AI native perspective, from their announcement perspective, but they are still a very good vendor for plastic as well as engineering-centric verticals, and that's number 13. Number 14 on the list is Plex. And Plex is owned by Rockwell Automation. They were always MES first vendor, so they have a much deeper capabilities from MES. The way they look at the architecture is very different as well. They are not going to have as deep ERP layers. That is not going to be their priority. But some companies care for MES heavy architecture, QMS heavy architecture. If that is your priority, Plex could be a great vendor, and that's number 14. Number 15 on our list is Aptean. Aptean has many different products as part of their portfolio. Some of them are acquired and they are still acquiring actively in the market. They are acquiring many different supply chain suites, WMS, TMS centric solutions. For the most part, their strategy has been very focused on smaller accounts as well as food and beverage has been their sector where they target very aggressively. They go after some of the smaller market segments, whether it is going to be from the industry or from the geo perspective. And that is how the majority of their acquisitions have been. Aptean might come across as more of the Microsoft ISV, and the reason for that is because a lot of their products are built on top of the core Microsoft products, namely Business Central, that fits in their market segment. So that's why they build capabilities on top of Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central, and then they are going to be responsible for supporting that IP development, roadmap, marketing, etc. That's going to be job of Aptean. But overall, when you look at Aptean's strategy, they don't have as aggressive AI native strategy. At this point of time, they don't invest as much on the core architecture, core product development. For the most part, their incentive is going to be to make money using the support dollars, as well as supporting the products, legacy products that are there in the market. So that's number 15. Number 16 on our list is Syspro. And Syspro has made substantial changes with their strategy. They have new leadership. They are doing rebranding. They are trying to push for AI native integration. They have alignment with vendors such as Versari. And Versari is the AI native iPaaS vendor. And because of that, they are going to get the speed and develop some of these integrations as well as ecosystem that they did not have traditionally. So they might be able to compete with the likes of NetSuite, etc. They also had very active, partner channel. They always had that. So that's a huge plus. Overall, from the product perspective, they were a little behind from the cloud perspective, but now they are pushing heavily on their cloud product. So Syspro is definitely a very exciting vendor to watch. And that's number 16. Number 17 on our list is ECI Software Solutions. And ECI is another exciting vendor. They have many different products in their portfolio. They were acquiring a lot. They are acquiring some, but they are not as active in the acquisition game. Now, their strategy is very similar to Epicor, where they are acquiring to fill the portfolio gaps. Their strategy has always been for the lower, smaller, startup-centric segment, where they provide the complete suite, and complete suite includes some of the AR automation, AP automation with other ERP systems. Generally, AR automation, AP automation, they are covered by the vendor. With ECI, companies are getting everything as part of the suite that is going to be pre-integrated, supported by the same vendor. So your implementation is going to be lower, and then you are going to have support just from one vendor. So that's where ECI strategy is. Overall, they have not done or they are not as aggressive on the AI native front, at least as of today. So that's number 17. Number 18 on our list is Rootstock. And Rootstock is another exciting vendor. And the reason for that is because they are part of that Salesforce ecosystem. And with Salesforce, they are going to receive the R&D investments from Salesforce, whatever innovation Salesforce is doing. And that is very similar to Microsoft. Rootstock is going to be direct beneficiary of that. And that's why we believe that Rootstock will be able to catch up with several different vendors on the AI native capabilities. Now, they have substantial momentum, and some of the capabilities that you are going to find as part of Rootstock portfolio, they have very deep capabilities for manufacturing verticals. They do really well in project manufacturing. Medical device is another vertical where they do really well. Industrial automation is another one. Wherever you are going to have penetration for Salesforce, those are different verticals where Rootstock does really well in the product-centric spaces. So we are really excited about Rootstock, and that's number 18. Number 19 on our list is Certenia Financial Force, and this is another system in the Salesforce ecosystem. Overall, when you look at Certenia, they target service-centric verticals, and even though Certenia is a great product, they have a decent install base in the Salesforce ecosystem, but for the most part, they have substantial threat from the likes of Workday, which has developed the financial capabilities, and now they can be a true ERP for at least for the service-centric, retail-centric verticals. And then they also have substantial threat from AI-native vendors, because a lot of AI-native vendors are targeting service-centric verticals. So that's going to be a challenge for Certenia. Overall, from their ecosystem perspective, they don't have as much momentum as Rootstock. Their AI-native strategy is also not very visible. But again, Certenia could be a great vendor for some of those service-centric verticals, and that is number 19. Number 20 on our list is Workday. And Workday, when you look at the product, they were primarily HCM solution, but they have evolved substantially overall in terms of their finance capabilities, indirect procurement, anything and everything that a service company is going to need. So Workday is going to be a real ERP vendor that is going to compete, at least in the enterprise spaces, with some of the mainstream vendors. And the vendors that are going to be challenged with Workday are going to be Certenia, number one, Sage Intacct is another one. And then SAP Oracle, they also have substantial ERP footprint in the service-centric verticals. So those are going to be some of the vendors. And then obviously Unit 4. Workday also has a FP&A tool that is integrated with their ACM as well as with their ERP footprint. The AI native acquisitions as well as capabilities that they have developed, it's still part of that ACM portfolio. Their priority will always be ACM, but they are a decent ERP vendor now for service verticals, and that's number 20. Number 21 on our list is Priority. And Priority is a household name in Israel. That's where they are from. They have been penetrating substantially in the North American market as well. One of the biggest advantage with Priority is they are invested by BlackRock, which is one of the largest private equity company, and they have been very aggressive overall with their acquisition strategy. They have filled several gaps in their portfolio. Traditionally, they were a developer, but now they are taking acquisition strategy, and because of that they are able to deliver capabilities faster than a lot of other ERP vendors. The industries where they are really deep is pharma, electronics, manufacturing, real estate, etc. But their AI native capabilities are not as aggressive as some of the other vendors. But Priority could be a great vendor to include with your ERP selection. So that's number 21. Number 22 on our list is Unanet. And Unanet has very similar target market as your Deltek. Unanet would be slightly smaller platform. They target consulting-centric companies, GovCon. Sometimes they sit on top of the other mainstream ERP systems from the financial perspective. Their role is going to be primarily project management, portfolio management, etc. But they have much deeper ERP capabilities compared to the other project management software, traditional project management software that you are going to find. So that's number 22. Number 23 on our list is ERP Next. And ERP Next is open source ERP system for the smaller market segment, similar to Odoo. They don't have the same ecosystem as Odoo, but they are open source, and their AI native strategy is not as well known at this point of time. So that's number 23. Number 24 on our list is Blackboard. And Blackboard has several different products as part of their portfolio. Some of them are ERP, some are best of breed. They were doing really good in the on-prem world, and they have very deep capabilities for micro verticals inside not-for-profit. For the smaller mid-market centric companies, they have great alignment from with Microsoft. A lot of these products are developed on top of your core Microsoft stack. So some of the capabilities that you are going to find through Microsoft, for example, Power Platform, etc., that is going to be available with Blackboard. The major challenge that Blackboard is struggling at this point of time is the migration to the cloud native technologies. And now there is going to be a bigger threat because of the AI native vendors as well. So that's number 24. Number 25 on our list is Advantive. And Advantive is a newer vendor, and they are created more as a result of financial consolidation. The financial entity that owns Advantive, they have acquired several different systems in their portfolio. Some of them were very successful ERP systems in very specific micro verticals. So their strategy is to integrate and combine many different ERP systems plus your SPS, plus QMS, plus MES, WMS for the niche manufacturing as well as distribution verticals. Some verticals that they target is janitorial, fastener, etc. And they are very successful. This is a very similar strategy as your ECI, Constellation Software, etc. And that is still working. For the most part, they are probably not going to invest as much in the product development. Their primary strategy will be to make money from the support dollars, as well as in supporting some of these legacy workloads. So that's number 25. Number 26 on our list is Dual Entry. And Dual Entry is the newer AI native vendor, and they are one of the most highlighted in the AI native community. Now, when you look at the capabilities, they are very accounting focused at this point of time, but that's how majority of the cloud native workloads also started. If you go back to 2015, you look at Acumatica, Sage Intacct, NetSuite, they all started as the accounting workloads. Now, the bigger difference between what cloud native versus AI native systems have done, AI native is a very different category. Sometimes they come across as if they are overlapping with FP&A, which is a very different enterprise software category. So at this point of time, it's going to be very early to predict how these vendors are going to evolve and what is going to be the future of the ERP as a category. So, but at this point of time, they are winning in some of those SaaS and service verticals. Traditionally speaking, the SaaS and service verticals, they did not have as deep ERP footprint, for the most part, they were very accounting centric workloads just because they're operational workloads. For example, let's say if you look at SaaS or tech, these workloads, they always wanted their operations to be disconnected from financials just because they did not have the same problems that your ERP centric industries are going to have. So that's where these guys are penetrating. For those industries, it makes sense. But whether they are going to penetrate into the mainstream ERP industries will be a question for the future. But they are definitely a vendor to watch. And that's number 26. Number 27 on our list is Relate. And Relay is also a cloud native vendor. They have been in the market much longer than Dual Entry, even though Dual Entry is far more highlighted. Relay seem to have a lot more logos compared to Dual Entry at this point of time. Based on the public information available, they are some of the ex-NetSuite executives are involved with Relate as well. Their strategy seems to be slightly more partner focused, which is always a positive factor for these ERP vendors. The ERP vendors that have partner focused strategy seems to be doing a lot better overall with their penetration strategy. But some of the direct vendors have done really well as well. So it's still going to be interesting to watch how these vendors are going to evolve. For the most part, when you look at Relate, at this point of time, they are also very service-centric, SaaS-centric, ERP system, very accounting, and a little bit of FP&A. Very similar positioning as Dual Entry. So again, this will be a vendor to watch. Keep an eye on them. So that's number 27. Number 28 on our list is Everest ERP. And again, a lot of these AI native vendors have very similar positioning overall, where they are in their maturity, how they are penetrating. They all have very similar strategy. With Everest ERP, they have ex-SAP executives. If you look at their product, they were designed with that multi-entity international mindset that is very common with any of the products that originated in European geography, whether you look at SAP, Odoo, etc. Generally, these products have very deep multi-entity capabilities, and that is very similar with Everest as well. Now, other AI native systems, they also have multi-entity capabilities. And the reason for that is because accounting-focused multi-entity capabilities are much easier to deliver with the AI native model than the core operational ERP capabilities, where you are going to require the relational aspect of data as well as process model. That's where the real challenge is. And again, whether relationality is going to matter in the long term or not, we'll find out. But for the most part, Everest ERP is another vendor to watch. They have several unique capabilities. For example, one-click entity sandbox creation, specification management, etc. Now, how useful one-click entity sandbox creation or specification management is going to be, which comes across as more of the custom development. But again, Everest ERP is a vendor to watch, and that's number 28. Number 29 on our list is Campfire. And again, they are one of the most highlighted AI native vendor as well. Again, these vendors are positioned very similarly, even though they have slightly different rank on our quadrants. They are very, very, very similar vendor. They have very similar strategy. They are funded by one of the largest private equities, and they are all very well highlighted. And even Campfire is winning in that SaaS and service-centric models. They are going after CFOs and the financial workload, and their claim is that they are going to be Slack for accounting. Now, Slack for accounting could be a very interesting category. Maybe we are not going to have ERP in the future. Maybe we are going to have just Slack for accounting. We don't know at this point of time how successful that strategy is going to be, but they are a vendor to watch, and that's why they are number 29 on our list. Number 30 on our list is CTech ERP. And CTech has been in the market for last 50 years. So they are very well proven in a lot of different industries, especially smaller segments. For example, electronics, medical device. That's where you are going to find them. They have not done as much announcement overall from the AI native perspective, from their cloud native capabilities perspective. But CTech ERP should be on your list if you are targeting those electronics manufacturing, medical device, etc. So that's number 30. Number 31 on our list is Genius ERP. And Genius does really well in the smaller ETO-centric spaces where you are going to have the long lead items, very heavy inventory, etc. Those are the spaces where Genius does really well. These platforms are really good for companies that may not have as high implementation budget. They don't want to go for a partner. Genius has their own direct professional services that they can offer. So they still have very substantial install base in that smaller spaces among manufacturing companies. So that's number 31. Number 32 on our list is Allox. And Allox is the newer cloud ERP vendor. They have done really well in some of the industries, for example, fastener. And they are continuously innovating their product. They are very successful in that industry. So if you are going to be in the fastener industry and looking for a cloud native solution, Allox is definitely a vendor to include. And they are number 32 on our list. Number 33 on our list is Pronto Software. And Pronto, when you look at, they are Australian household name. And sometimes when you look at a lot of these vendors, they might not be as relevant in certain geographies. And Australia is a very unique geographies, the kind of processes that they have, the kind of localization they are going to require. The same thing goes for India as well. For India, some of these ERP systems may not be relevant. So again, when you are looking at these geographies, you need to look at which systems have higher penetration. And if you are going to be in Australia, New Zealand, etc., then Pronto should be on your list. They do really well in those smaller spaces, mining, chemical, etc. So that's number 33. Number 34 on our list is Constellation Software. And Constellation Software has acquired many vertical software. Some of them may be ERP solution, but they don't necessarily go after the ERP, even though they might be selling some of them as ERP. For the most part, ERP as a category, when you're looking at that consolidated state from all of the departments, including your finance, operations, as well as supply chain, when you look at the consolidated workload of processes and data, all of that may be a challenge with the kind of software that Constellation is carrying. But Constellation as a financial entity is very successful. They are traded on Wall Street. They are one of the most highlighted there. So at least from the vendor perspective, you have substantial backing. So you should definitely be including Constellation Software if you're looking for a vertical software for your evaluation. And that's number 34. Number 35 on our list is NextWorld. And NextWorld is a low-code, no-code platform, and where low-code, no-code as a category is going to evolve is going to be a question. Now, there are several different AI native players that are doing low-code, no-code centric innovations. Now, low-code, no-code category is going to become a lot more relevant in the AI native world. So NextWorld can become far more relevant as the vendor, as well as the category that they were targeting. They were executives from JD Edwards. They were behind NextWorld. So obviously that is always a very exciting factor for any ERP vendor when they are going to have such a team behind them. So NextWorld could be another vendor if you're looking for those technical capabilities, low code, no code, etc. And that's number 35. Number 36 on our list is visibility. And visibility would be similar to Genius ERP. If you look at their comparable, they are also in that smaller engineer to order centric manufacturing verticals where they have decent install base. So if you are going to be in that space, visibility could be a great option, and that's number 36. So that's it for the ERP vendors. Again, this was the list of the vendors and not of the systems. This provides the overarching view as well as the positioning of these vendors. You should be considering that as part of your evaluation, but that should not be the only factor to select an ERP. Again, to reiterate my point, even though we have done the ranking, but ranking does not mean that number one always is going to be better than the other vendors on the list. They all have their own positioning in a very specific size segment as well as the verticals. So do your analysis, do the due diligence. And if you need any sort of help in assessing these vendors, we are here to help. We are going to include our digital transformation report that is going to have much deeper analysis. So look for that QR code throughout this video. This podcast is also available in the audio form on major podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple, as well as we publish these videos on a weekly basis. So if you have not hit subscribe button, this could be a great opportunity to do that. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.